Welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. We're out in the large greenhouse here. You can see all our plants we've got going that we're trying to extend our season on. And today I'm going to share another add-on that we do to extend our season, to extend all of that growth through the entire winter. And this is one of the most key elements that allowed us to grow through the entire winter, aside from all of the free heating we've shared. Now, if all of that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing to the channel, because that's pretty much all we do here on our channel and on our homestead, is doing things as cheap as possible and being as self-sufficient as we can be. Now let's get right to today's video. We are talking about growing undercover. We have a huge tunnel that we consider our greenhouse. We got a double layer on this tunnel, but adding low tunnels inside your greenhouse is going to be the #1 way you can ensure your moisture stays down where it needs to be, and you can hold a little bit better heat closer to the plants, closer to the vegetation, soil, and roots. Today we are talking about low tunnels and hoops, and we have our own hoops down at the other end here. I've got all of these hoops outside the greenhouse. It's raining pretty decent out there. We've got those hoops all kind of clustered. I was just going through those hoops and grabbed a couple that were almost identical, so I had good specimens to show everybody when we were doing all of this, getting this set up here. But as we're making our way down, I wanted to experiment with this box here. We've got our solar heating box for everything. That is all set up. I just got to run the power to it and run water through it. This one is an empty box. There's nothing in it. I can't even get my hand in there. It's sealed so well. But this window fits in there so well that it holds a nice seal once we get it in there. So quick 10-second thoughts on this. I want to use some type of sand battery, possibly run some copper and water through it as a sand battery. We'll see. All solar powered, obviously. So let's continue on. So it's really hard to make it anywhere in the greenhouse without updating everybody on growth and how things are doing. You can see all the little onions and our potatoes coming up. There's lots of little shoots of potatoes coming up, so we're having some good success. Some potatoes are growing faster than others. It all depended on how far along the eyes were on the potato, I'm assuming. So looking very well in there. Everything is still green, alive, doing well. Lots and lots of plants. I'm really struggling keeping all of the radishes or turnips or whatever went to seed in this soil that I filled this with. They're really popping through. I've never had crops come through like that, kind of like weeds. It's interesting. So we obviously have some healthy soil and some healthy self-seeding crops. This is the bed we are going to be covering, and we've got our poles right here. So this is actually a piece of conduit. You can see some dirt stuck in there. So I had found all of these pieces of conduit. I've got 3 of them in here today. So we've got 3 almost identical hoops that we're going to use to cover this little bed here with some greenhouse poly that we had as an offcut when we built this greenhouse. Now, the only drawback to actually having small tunnels inside the greenhouse is ventilation. So what we found last winter is that covering it down but leaving an inch gap, if it wasn't going to be super blasphemous cold, we could just leave it open a little bit, and the fact that it's covered 99% keeps it pretty well sheltered and allows some ventilation. So another factor to consider is that every layer of poly you add is going to give about 1 to 1.5 grow zones to your plant and to the inside of that tunnel. So we've got 2 layers on here with the dead air gap. We've got pretty darn good insulation. It's always like 70 degrees in this greenhouse. On a very cold day, it might be cooler, but most of our systems, our geothermal's running, that keeps it up at least 50, 55 degrees all the time. So by adding another layer to this greenhouse, we're going from zone 4, 5 up to zone 6, 7, 8, possibly even 9. By the time we've got all of these covered inside our greenhouse and we're blowing heat to them, we kept a minimum of 42 degrees. That was like 1 or 2 days we saw 42 degrees on the soil temperatures in our greenhouse, and those were the coldest temps we saw on the floor the entire winter. Another main important factor is wetting your soil. We came through and soaked this bed a ton since these have sprouted, and since we planted them, I should say. So the soil is nice and soft. Our walkway is like a rock. It's dry. We don't have any water. We never water our walkway in here where we don't have stone. So it is super hard. You need like a pickaxe or a super heavy duty pitchfork to even get through and start breaking ground. Considering the material you're using, if you're using PVC hoops, you're gonna really need some soft soil to dig into. But these conduits are very sturdy, and that's another thing I want to talk about. These conduits can be very expensive. I picked up maybe like 20 or 25 of them for absolutely free. They came out of an old business or something. They were just getting thrown away. So it's like, oh man, those are going to be lifetime hoops for my greenhouse or outside the greenhouse to use netting, anything. They are super valuable and super expensive. So being able to acquire all of those for free, I bent them up last year around a small jig. We had placed our sticks in the ground. Once you start that U shape and get the hoop started, you can just kind of step on one spot, and these conduits are flexible enough that you can get it to the right shape just by hand and foot. Now, another thing I want to talk about with the shape of these hoops, both sides come down at almost a 90-degree angle here. Almost 90, not perfect because I did it by hand. Having a flush 90-degree angle with the soil allows you to be able to push it in much easier, and it allows for better water flow and everything. The water doesn't just stagnate, it actually flows down, and we noticed that. So definitely when you're building your hoops, you want to consider the size, shape, and material you're using. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push these into the soil, get them set up, and then we're going to throw some poly on these. Well, that was a project. I worked up a good sweat there. So I had to run out to the garage and grab my poly. So I grabbed myself an apple on the way. Few and far between anymore. It's getting pretty darn cold. The end is open. I'm gonna show everybody how we're doing this. I might use some insulation board on this side and shoot my poly a little bit further that way. I have a couple other different offshoot pieces that will fit this a little better. This was the smallest of the 3 or 4 pieces I have. As far as I'm concerned right now, this is going to work pretty well. So let's check this out. So for right now, I am actually going to keep this open as much as I possibly can because we want good airflow. It's not freezing yet. It's not too bad out. I just want to keep this open as we possibly can for right now while we get all this situated. So one thing I want to talk about is the back side here. So we've got this tag piece. We are going to put a brick on one side, one in the middle, one on the other side, just to keep that nice and taut, because you will pull these, you will put them back, and having it unfixed, it will start to pull on you, or even sometimes the gravity will just pull it or it'll drop and then you've got to redo it, or it'll happen in the middle of the night and you lose all your plants. Just jumping down to the other side of this tunnel here. So the other side is open also, but it can be closed, and we have enough tag to actually fold it up together and pretty well seal it up. And we're gonna blow geothermal through this anyway, so we're going to have the tube running in somewhere. So for the most part, this is complete. We're just going to go ahead and roll these up so we can leave them up. I really wanted to show this tunnel building process, as simple as it is. I just wanted to share with everybody the process. I didn't want to just come back and all these tunnels are up and it looks great. So this is how we're getting there, and this is just one more crucial piece to that puzzle of growing through the entire winter. Like I said, we used a ton of free heating elements and ideas last winter and really built upon that by storing all that heat and using it as wisely as we could, putting it where we needed it and keeping it there with these tunnels. These tunnels allowed us to grow through the entire winter and to be able to sprout. So sprouting is the #1 key. I wanted to jump over here and check out all these peas coming up. Everything looks really, really good. My only concern is that I need to extend this, so I probably will end up grabbing my longer poly just to go to this wall, because last year we had our 2 polys from each tunnel connect in the middle and share heat and share the Jean Pain heating. All of this plastic PEX was pushing like 70 to 90 degrees through there intermittently, so we had some good heat that would just sit in the soil. Between the 2 PEX tubes, we had a decent safe zone last year for growing. So planning ahead for winter and knowing what to plant, how to grow, how to heat for free is all pretty darn important. So this was just one more piece to the puzzle. I've got other polys and other tunnels, but we've still got tomatoes. We've got tomatoes that are turning red on me down here. We've got some shishito peppers turning. I just got all types of stuff. I'm surprised at how long this stuff has lasted. I mean, our greenhouse is pretty well protected. I mean, we got snow coming next week, they said. So here we go. We're getting ready for winter. Still got tomatoes and peppers, all types of stuff. So I'm trying to mix it up this year and see what I can extend. Super excited about the potatoes. Hopefully everybody else is too. I really want to see those be successful. They are getting a tunnel or their own little lid or hinged lid for some protection, because I really don't want to lose those. So hence the importance of having having some type of cover for those cold nights. I'd really like to thank everybody for watching this video, checking out the greenhouse, our little low tunnel build back there. So I'd really like to thank you guys again, and thank you to all the subscribers, and until next time.